Hello and welcome to the February bonus video from Wordsmith Creative Writing, and this is my first look at reflections. Now before I start, I should make a point that reflections are not about beating yourself up for not being good enough. They're intended as a way of identifying where you need to improve, and most importantly, to provide you with personalised targets to work towards. No one should finish a task and be completely happy, but you should be satisfied that you've done enough for now. Which is why the reflection questions are always a combination of positive and negative elements. I did well with this, I could do better with that. Now, this bonus video is all about your reflections and how we can use them to improve our writing. So to begin with, you need to have done at least 3 or 4 of the prompts. More would be better because then you can pick up on patterns of things that you struggle with and balance them against the things you do well. Now, these are some of the more common targets that I've set for my students. And I'll give you a few tips on how to improve your work for each one because I can't see what you've got. So most likely you're going to have at least 1 or 2 of these as your targets. So first target is use of correct and ambitious spag. Spelling, punctuation and grammar are basic but often overlooked elements of English that people continue to struggle with into adulthood. I know I do. If your teachers have noticed that you're struggling, then I would expect them to provide you with targeted work in order to practice your skills, but that doesn't mean you can't look into your own improvements. So I've got 3 tips for you. First, read a lot. This is the universal method of improving your understanding of spag and anything else for that matter. Read all you can. 2, identify your weakness. Whether you have problems with commas, colons, semicolons, you need to know what it is and then target it. Look up the particular uses of that punctuation mark, that element, and practice using them correctly. Use them in your English work and ask your teacher to comment on how you can improve, or if you've met it, if you've done it. Number 3, kind of most important in terms of where the punctuation goes, is read your work aloud. Know where the pauses and stops naturally come in your work. And that will help you learn where the punctuation needs to go. And practice is going to teach you whether it should be a comma, colon, semicolon, or a stop. Second target is use more ambitious vocabulary. Sometimes you just can't think of the word, or when you read it back you realise you've used the same word 2 or 3 times in the same paragraph. It looks awful and it's frustrating to mark because your teacher can see the ideas developing but just can't mark it up because you're not demonstrating good or ambitious vocabulary. Or, and this is worse, you've picked up one word, your pet word, and that's the only descriptor that occurs to you. Even professional writers fall into this trap. It's not great. It's okay to have a pet word when you're writing a book and you're producing thousands of words. But even a good choice of word is wasted if you've got to use it 3 times on the same page. So my 3 tips for this one. Read widely. So not just read widely. And challenge yourself. I know it's easy to pick the easy, popular books to read. But I believe that we should try and push ourselves a little every week, every month. So at minimum you should be reading 1 classic book every year. Whether that's through school or on your own. A classic book is anything written before 1950. Okay? So you may find it beneficial to create a little book club with your friends or family and read the same text. And then you can discuss the author's techniques, the choice of language and spag. So you can see where they did it back then and how we do it now. Number 2 is read the dictionary. Yes, I know it sounds ridiculous. But I would say once a week, look at the dictionary. Start at A and work your way through. Pick out 6 to 8 nouns, verbs or adjectives that you don't immediately recognise and write them on a post-it. Keep them in your diary or around your workspace until you find a way to use them correctly in your writing, in the correct context. That is, don't just randomly chuck it in because it feels right. Ask a friend or a family member to quiz you and help you with this. Once you've used a word and you're satisfied that you know what it is and that you can use it in the future, you can throw that post-it away. So, and then review these on a weekly basis. Each time you add your new half a dozen, you'll gradually build up a really good vocab and get in the habit of learning new words. Okay, number 3, problems with a boring word choice. Again, if you're stuck with large, small, tiny, try this exercise. So pick a boring adjective. So I'm picking small. And write a list of as many synonyms, so that's words that also mean small, as you can in 5 minutes. You should have about 10, 15-ish. Then look up your word in a thesaurus and add 10 more. Now you've got a list of words that all mean small, but which is the most small? So rewrite your list from the most small to the least small. There's no wrong or right here, these are your decisions. Now you want to stick this list in the back of your English book. Now if you do this on a regular basis, you can build up a useful little word bank to refer to when you need an interesting word. Also, the exercise of making these lists will become second nature, and you'll regularly be looking for better words when you write. And my last tip is, it's not a target as such, but it's something that everyone kind of has difficulty with, and that's trouble starting. So many people run into writer's block from time to time. The blank page is terrifying. There are a number of block-breaking activities you can try. These are 3 of my favourites. Number 1, build your plan. Use the 5-box table I introduced last week, or one of the techniques I'll be bringing up as we go along, to write down the bare bones of your story. So who are the characters? Where are they? What do they want? What is the challenge? And then vocab and descriptive choices. Once you've got the skeleton of your story, you can keep adding details to develop your ideas until you have an idea of where things fit together. You just keep adding details. It's easy to do it that way, and it can take 10 minutes to get your plan sorted out, but in that way, you've got a lot more detail that an assessor or teacher can see where you were planning to go with it. 2, sometimes actually starting can be the hardest thing, and all the preparations in the world just are not going to make that first line appear on the page. So if I'm blocked in this way, I start by using one of these lines. So I start with my story is set in, or I want to say, or the most important part of this story is. I find that these starters kind of grease the wheels and begin a flow of words. I understand that my first paragraph isn't the best, but using these starters means that I don't feel bad about deleting it when I come back to edit, because it was never intended to be in the final piece in the first place. It takes the pressure off, so it's easy to get started. And number 3 is stream of consciousness. Like the technique above, this one allows you to get a rolling start. So draw up your planning table, then write down whatever comes to mind about the task. And after a paragraph or so, you'll find that you're actually telling the story, even though you're not intending to tell the story. So you only then need to continue and finish the story, and then come back and revise the opening. So that's my run of tips for use of some of your reflection targets. Self-reflection is an important part of developing your writing and your creative skills. Sometimes we find it difficult to see the positive, but it's always there. You should celebrate it when you do, because balance is important in everything. So look back at your reflections, find your faults, because it's something you can work towards, something you can see getting better over time. So I'll see you again next week.